you go ahead and introduce and set. Oh, we're already recording.
We just
Hi.
started. We just
Hi,
started.
friend.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm good, buddy.
Woo!
What have you been reading today? Or what have you been reading this week?
This week, so I started The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe book.
Yes, that's right. You were talking about the podcast.
Yeah. So the podcast has been around for 15 years, and I've been listening since like episode 7.
So you are like old school supporter.
Yeah, so I've been listening to them for quite a while. Been through all the iterations, and in fact, one of the members, the original cast members, died in 2007, and it was in August of 2007. And I remember sitting in my chair listening to the episode because they were kind of late with their episode. They're usually right on time all the time, and like I had no idea. His name was Perry DeAngelis, and he was like one of my favorite rogues from the show, and I didn't even know he was sick, and then he ended up passing away. So it was really sad. Anyways, that was
I'm sorry, man.
that was 13 years ago, so it's fine. But anyways, the show, yeah, still remember him. So the show's gone on and evolved quite a bit since then, and they wrote a book. So Dr. Steve Novella is the main author, but the other rogues are, they contributed their part to it, and it's about.
No. And his name is this big.
Yeah.
Oh, well, no, did it do it?
No.
I love it. His name is this big, and then the other two. Oh, no. Okay, good. I thought you meant like that was his name, and then underneath.
Yeah, no, it's their names. So
okay.
It is. So Bob Novella is his brother, and then Cara Santa Maria. I don't know if you know who she is, but she does a lot of podcasts. She's a science communicator. Cool. She's really awesome. I really like her a lot. And then
I'm still laughing at the fact that Dr. Steven's name is this big and everybody else is this big.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's like contribution pieces or.
Yeah. So the main author is Dr. Steve Novella. He's the guy that.
Okay, good. And then they contributed. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So anyways, I've only gotten into like the first like chapter of it, but it's kind of like a fun read, and it's funny because when I'm reading it, I can hear their voices. So like this is my first experience where like it's not my own internal voice when I'm reading it. I'm hearing their voices.
Because you know them.
Because I've been listening to them for 15 years, and so it's like this weird.
Yes. Ooh, how fascinating!
Weird. Yeah, it's weird. It's like a psychological trip. Anyways, it's really good. If you're a fan of the podcast or familiar with their work, it's basically follows that same sort of jive. It's just it's just kind of like common approaches to like things to be aware of that like some of the stuff in here it's going to be I think
we're having a little bit of connectivity issues this morning. I think it'll be okay. I think we're just going to have moments where we go, oops, oh, will it?
Yeah.
Okay, no, all right, on we go.
Yeah. So I'll make it real short.
So what's like one of the things that you're going to absolutely like take from it? Like what's like your elevator pitch for selling reading the book?
That's a great way of saying it. So I think like if you have anyone in your life that you're trying to get them to think critically, or if you just want to read some stories about like how to maybe expand your own reasoning, it's a really great read. It's not technical, and it's not like it's kind of like raising your own skeptical thinking, like about like critical thinking. Not skepticism and skeptical thinking tend to have like this negative connotation to it. So I really rather just think of it as like if you want to raise your own thinking game, like it's a better way of clarifying your own thinking. Like it's funny how many times like there are things that get into your brain that you think like are just fact, like you don't even question it, and then later you find out that they're not. It's not, and you're like, but I always, that's weird. And like, we're all fallible. We all have our blind spots, and we all have issues with thinking. So it's just a really nice way to kind of like help hone your thinking, and they're fun stories too. They're pretty silly. So I highly recommend it.
I love skeptical thinking and critical thinking and logical fallacies. I adore all of that stuff because it's so interesting. I learned logic and fallacies at the same time that I learned philosophy, and I wonder like if that's like why they're so interconnected for me.
Sure.
So like when you have like these really difficult conversations about morality,
Yeah.
I really love the philosophical way of thinking about it and the skeptical way of having those conversations, because it's almost like if you all agree that logical fallacies are inaccurate, or not inaccurate, but inadequate reasoning,
Hmm.
then you have to try even harder to really get at what you're arguing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. Oh,
Yeah.
how exciting. That sounds
Yeah.
like a great book.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that you've like listened to them for 15 years so you have them in your head.
Yeah. Yeah. It just kind of makes you realize how fast time goes by. Because I remember when they first came out, and it's funny because personal side story, I would every so often, like every 5 years, I'd go back and re-listen to some of the older episodes.
Hmm.
And so, like in 2010, I did that for 2005 episodes, and then 2015, I did that for 2010 episodes, and then I recently kind of was going back and re-listening to them, and I was going back to 2005 though. I just kind of went back, and it's funny
Yeah.
how like the quality of the audio and like how um, just how different the show was at the time, and like when you're with it the whole time, you kind of forget about those earlier pieces, and then you go back and you're like, oh my gosh, that's right. It was so different, even though a lot of it's the same.
I love that thinking. Like one of my favorite things to do. I have a couple favorite YouTubers, like
Mm-hmm.
Brittany Visser. I love her, and like Do It on a Dime, and it's so funny because you can go to any YouTuber's channel, and you can click a little thing that says sort, and you can see their very first YouTube channel,
Oh wow,
and
yeah,
like the quality like increases exponentially.
yeah.
And I find that personally, like as someone who's on the very verge, the very beginning of, creating a place where all of my content lives in one place.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
oh, can you see me?
I can.
Uh-oh.
You're frozen, but I
Okay, if
can
you
hear
can
you.
hear me,
I can hear
if you
you.
can hear me, I'm just going to keep on going. Hopefully I
Keep
don't have
going.
a silly look on my face.
No, it's great.
Hopefully not like picking my nose or anything. Um, but it gives me hope, like when you look back so many times, and I think this goes back to that perfection myth that I am just like dedicated to dashing. And it's the idea that like if you're going to put something out, if you're going to create something, it has to be perfect. And right now I'm clumsily just flinging the stuff that I'm making and my ideas just out into the universe in this moment. And I take a lot of solace in the fact that the quality doesn't have to be there right now. Like it's not going to stop me from sharing something. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, absolutely.
that
That's
math
awesome.
rep I showed you earlier may not be perfect, but it'll do kind of
Hmm.
situation.
Hmm.
So I think that's really powerful to talk about the idea of like going back and looking at things that are really successful now and seeing what the quality was when it began.
Right, right. And I think it's so
So,
often the case, like with learning, like we so often see the finished product, and we figure like we never see like like all the work it took to get there. Like you know,
and
a lot
all
of.
the work it took to get there is that's the learning, that's the good stuff,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
that's why I think it's hard for me to totally believe in curriculum because everyone says, oh, you don't want to reinvent the wheel. But every time you reinvent the wheel, number one, the wheel gets better. Number two, your knowledge of the wheel becomes deeper.
Hmm.
So I'm actually all about reinventing the wheel. Even if I invent the same wheel, I've learned a lot along the process. Do you know what
That's
I
so
mean?
funny you say that. So I don't. I have an issue. Like I can't present the same lesson twice. Like as
Oh,
a
I
teacher,
love that. You just kind of like, you just
I
grow and change so much.
no. It's just that like I get bored easily, I guess, and so like it's been the case. Like I have all the lessons. For like when I was a teacher, like I have all the lessons from the year before. I'd end up remaking them and remixing them because either I'd grown and I figured it was a better way of doing it, right, or just the way that I
Mm-hmm.
had done it, like I wasn't happy with, and so but also because like as I create it, like I can give it in the moment. Like I feel like it's a better product than if I try to go in. Like if I created it a month ahead, then I would by the time I was going to give it, I'd completely forgotten all the thoughts I had put into it.
That's a really powerful point that I don't think I have been really clear with myself on,
Mhm.
which is Something I had to work on is it's good enough for right now, but there was something else to it, and I think I've lost it because Ione rolled over on her back, and she looks really cute right now.
Oh,
And when she did it, I was like, oh, what a cute puppy. And then I completely forgot what I was talking about. Ione,
redoing
you
a.
charmed the thoughts right out of my head, little girl.
That's funny.
She's so cute. Oh,
Redoing.
there goes her tail. Sorry, I get excited about my own animals.
That's awesome. You should. That's why they're there.
All right, so I am reading Coraline right now. I'm right in the middle of it where she just first goes into the other world.
Mhm.
There's a weird moment in the book where she's like, this was once a brick wall, and then she opens it and it's not a brick wall. And David and I have this joke about starting some kind of like either like YouTube video or something that's just called credits. And it's Jenna in horror movies. And it's called credits because it's over really fast. For example, opening scene. Jenna and David are in a car together. David says, hey, have you heard about this videotape that kills people? Next like shot is Jenna looking at David, and then the next shot is like me dropping David off in the desert somewhere all by himself and like, you know, squealing and leaving, like, and credits, like, and that's our take on The Ring, like Amityville Horror featuring Jenna would be like, oh, I love my new house. And then something says, get out. And then I throw the keys at the house and say, the mortgage is due on the 15th. I'll send someone for my stuff. Like, and credits. Do you want to go camping in the woods? No. And credits. Like, that's.
I love it.
Anyway, so Coraline would end with, and she opened it up, and what was once a brick wall was now a new world. No, thank you. Lock that door. Credits. Like, I would be the most boring, like, fictional character because I would just be like, no, no me gusta. I don't want it. Thank you.
That's awesome.
So with school just a little while down, I've been spending my reading time learning about reading instruction. I've been like a upper grade teacher for a long time. This is my first year in second, and I'm going to be completely honest and say, like, I knew a lot of stuff and I got a lot of stuff right. And by a lot, I mean probably 50%, maybe even 60. I'll give myself that much credit.
Nice.
But teaching reading has always been kind of like a blind spot for me. And so with school coming up, I was kind of like, ooh, I'm a little nervous. And I went back and looked at a program I had bought called guidedreaders.com. And like full disclosure, I think it's like $150 or $200. And if you go through like my Twitter feed over like the last 6 years, I'm like, if it's free, that's all I'm interested in. However, I will say it's totally worth the money because you have a library. You can set your kids up with digital little readers that they can interact with, that can be read to them, that they can record themselves reading so you can have weekly fluency scores. And there's a comprehension quiz. And it comes with these lessons. And I will put the link. I'm so bad at downloading and uploading our videos, but I will. And I'll put the link to the guided readers and to Anna DiGilio because that's the second grade teacher that's created this program. And I think that's why it's so good because it's created by a teacher. She's skillfully skilled in second or something like that. Skillfully second, skillfully skilled. Anywho's it's put all that information. But what I love is I went through and I started watching her videos, and she uses like animal characters. I don't think it's just her. I don't know if because I haven't been around in second grade long enough to know what the norms are.
Mm-hmm.
But like she teaches strategies through animal characters. So there's Eagle Eye, which is all about paying attention to the pictures and using the illustrations as evidence for your reasoning. And then there's Lips the Fish, which is all about getting your mouth ready for the sound you're going to make when you see the letter in your writing and you don't know in your reading and you don't know what the word says,
Mm.
one of the first strategies you can do is look at the pictures. That's eagle eye. The
Mm.
next strategy is get your mouth ready to try and say it. And then there's stretchy snake, and that's stretching out the diphthongs and the all those things. And then try and lion, which is all about like use all the other strategies and then just try a word and see if it makes sense.
Mm.
And then
Mm.
there's like skipping the frog, and that's like skipping the word till the very end and seeing if you can figure out the context clues. Chunky Monkey's all about diphthongs and word chunks and digraphs, and then Flippy Dolphins all about the vowel slaps. So I don't think that those are, and those are like videos that she's made. So I don't think I'm giving away any trade secrets.
Mm.
But it's her videos are so good, and I now know exactly how I'm going to teach guided reading.
Wow.
So it's
Nice.
going to start with some sight word instruction. She makes this amazing trifold where you can kind of just decide which sight word lesson you want to do.
Mm.
And her program comes with, and I can't share it because it's copyrighted, but I wish I could show you a picture because it's stunning.
Mm.
These books are gorgeous, and they
Nice.
come with this companion digital part for Google Classroom that goes over sight words, vocabulary,
Mm.
students build words. I mean, it is
Mm.
everything I could want in a guided reading program. So you start with like the sight word instruction, and then you go into the book introduction. The title of this book is blank, and then you do like a little picture walk with the kids.
Wow.
And it's like, okay, so what are we going, when you're doing the picture walk, it's like, what is this book going to be about, and how do you know? After that little picture walk, and you talk about, then
Mm.
you go into the vocabulary,
Mm-hmm.
give them the words that they need. And what I love about her lesson plans is it will tell you exactly what page and what words you can use. So you don't have to think for yourself, which when you're learning how to teach guided reading, that is so complicated in the
Yeah.
moment that it's so nice to have something like this because it seems silly. Oh, I'll be able to find words that follow that rule easily, right? But in that moment, when you've got those kids in front of you, it's a little bit different.
Yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
nice to have those words there, you know? So after the vocab, and the vocab part of that is also like the word study and using those, finding the vowel pairs and all that stuff. And so then finally the kids read the story, and then they have, I don't know exactly how I'm going to do whisper reading with all of the kids long distance, but
Mm.
I'm sure it'll come to me before August 10th.
Okay.
But the way, and then that way, like each lesson's like 20 minutes, and then you have the discussion, and then you talk about whatever strategy you utilize to make sense of words you didn't know in that session.
Mm.
And she has just really high quality stuff, and she's got lessons for 3 days. So the way I'm going to teach next year,
Mm.
and I think I'm going to do this even if we're in the classroom because
Mm-hmm.
there's no reason why you can't use Google Meet,
Yeah.
especially if you want kids to be working together and you still want to be socially distancing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to create a Google Calendar, and when the kids are grouped up, and it doesn't matter if we're at school or if I'm teaching from home, from 9 to 1, I'll have 20-minute chunks of guided reading. So I'll meet with every group every day, and then Tuesday and Thursday, I'll do guided math groups.
Nice.
So that's how I am going to be doing my instructional. That first morning, 9 to 1, 9 to noon, that's going to be all small group guided instruction, either on reading or math, depending on what day.
Yeah.
And then I'll take a little lunch, and then I'll have my weekly meeting where I'll be meeting with parents every week to review that student data tracker. I'll link that down below that I made. And after that, I'll have some office hours where I can be working on or planning for the next, couple of weeks or couple of days. So
Mm.
that's how I'm going to make school work for me no matter
That's
where it
exciting.
is.
Yeah.
Thank
That's
you. I'm so
that's
glad I got
brilliant.
to, oh,
Yeah.
thanks, man. And like we're
Wow.
kind of talking about that in that CLS coaching is like, that's
Yeah.
like, I think like one of the first things is like, how do you structure this? No, I'm sorry, not CLS coaching. The summer session that I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going over all of that I just talked about, but I'm putting it in like presentations so that people can replicate it.
Nice. That's awesome. That's
Thanks,
really
man.
that's really solid structure.
Thank you. I'm hoping. And I'm like going to implement like using Flipgrid,
Mm-hmm.
for writing so that they can have. I was talking to Dr. Bonnie. She's the one that does Lexend fonts,
Mm-hmm.
which is that font that it really lessens the cognitive load for students, because there's all this research about like how much negative space the brain needs to see for the visual field to make sense of it, way beyond my understanding of stuff. But, and I forgot what I was saying right there. I got lost.
You were talking about having her come in to talk about you were putting together something for her. No.
No, don't remember. Don't remember at all, and that's okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Dr. Bonnie, I don't remember what I was talking about. But the point is, go ahead.
You were structuring your day, and then you were having, so it's not the work that you're doing for CLS, but the work that you're doing for.
Oh, for the summer program.
Right, and then you said Dr. Bonnie was going to come in, and then you talked about the.
Oh no, just that I'm using her font, Lexend.
Yeah.
I don't remember. How awful is that? Oh well, I must not have enough coffee in me. Let's just say that. So there was a long ramble about how school might look.
Yeah, just a question.
And if you want the full version, come to the CLS summer thing. I think it's only like $15 a session or $20 a session if it's a longer one.
Nice.
And if you want all the sessions, it's like $150. What's really nice about it is that it's a continuing program. So people will have access to the presenters on like work along Wednesdays, and they'll be in the private Facebook group. So you can continue. It's like going to a conference and then being able to continue to talk to the presenter.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool. If I could ask a question about your structure that you're talking about, the one thing I wasn't clear about is, so you said between 9 and noon or 9 and 1, you'll have these 20-minute blocks. So what will the other, if it's virtual, let's say, what will the other kids be doing during, like that 9 time? And then like, how do they know like when to meet with you?
So the first, well, that will take some time, right? Because you're going to have parents who are like, it's less important what reading group they're in, and it's more important what time it is for some people. So I'm gonna have kind of like a statistical nightmare on my hand for a second, and then once all of that hashes itself out, then it will be, you go to your Google Calendar, because I'll have calendar events with the group, all the student emails for that group invited. So students will just have to go to their Google Calendar to click on their guided reading session with me. So that will open up the Google Meet. Okay. So then what other students will be doing is they'll be working on their Lexia, or they'll be working on their math. I've got that Mathopoly board. So students can literally just move through the curriculum at their own pace. I've got 21 skills that I've broken all of second grade standards down, math standards down into 21 skills. And then students move from space to space, and each space has an activity card. And then each activity card has like a lesson. It's like a Google slide that's a hyperdoc. With like all of those functionalities that we've talked about, the drag a copy and the click and drag and all that stuff. And then so there'll be a link to the lesson and all that. And then there'll also be like, go practice Prodigy. There'll be an expectation of certain a number of minutes on Prodigy, etc. So that's how the other kids will be working on all that other stuff. And then when we meet for guided reading, we'll be doing our guided reading together. And they can go and access the guided readers before or after class too.
Nice. Okay, that makes sense.
I'm looking forward to like having 3 kids be like, I'm bored of this and I want an amazing project, and be able to do like a one-on-one and be like, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to build the diorama? I mean, what are we going to do? What do you want to do, kid? You want to learn a recipe, help us understand something? Like that's what I'm excited about for this long distance learning. I know it's stressful, and I know that equity is an issue, but equity is always an issue.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, that's incredible. You have a lot of really interesting and like fun and like well thought out like things happening. So that's neat. Yeah.
This has been ruminating in my brain since March 13th, since the day I left the classroom, and I'm so grateful that March 14th is Pie Day. And
Mm-hmm.
so like that whole last day was just a big fun day where we explored the number pi.
Yeah.
And we ate pie, like it was just this super fun day. And I'm so grateful because that was our last day together.
Yeah. It's crazy, huh?
And so that is like what's school going to look like has been in my heart. And I've rebuilt the system like 17 times, right?
Sure.
But this finally feels right. Small group instruction
Mm-hmm.
during, 9 to 1, which is a very like, doable amount of time. It's not
Mm-hmm.
forever and ever. And then from that direct instruction, using Google Classroom to supplement and their Lexi and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's going to be messy at first. And, some kids may not show up to guided reading groups at all, but they can still have access to the materials. And the beautiful thing is I can print anything. You know what I mean? If you make like a hyperdoc that's like drag the circle, well, just print it out and give it to them and they can just circle it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
I
cool.
feel like I've been like just talking for 70 million minutes.
We had a lot to share, and that's good stuff. So there you go. It benefits us all. I was just writing notes and thinking of like formats and stuff like that. So that was great.
Well, if you ever want to have a conversation about that, I'm right here, my friend. I am so excited about where we are because I feel like with this long distance learning, even though it has all of these cons, I feel like one of the pros is really going to be I'm really going to have to pay attention to student data. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
can't just walk in Monday morning and be like, well, we'll do whatever the book says. I can't just, like, I'll get a feel for it when I'm there. Like, I'm literally going to have to rely on data in a way I've never had to rely on data before. And in my mind, if I'm going to collect all that data,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do it. Number one, the kids are. Everything's going to be as automated as possible because I'm
Mm-hmm.
not into making hours of work for myself.
Yeah.
But then I know exactly where they are, and their parents will know exactly where they are, and they will know exactly where they are.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's where the good stuff is at. So I think that's a good spot to check out on this week's episode. And thank you, my
Hey,
friend.
if there's anybody out there watching this and you have an idea about how
Yeah.
to structure your
Oh,
day,
yeah.
please let us know. Or if you have any
Absolutely.
books that you've read that you think we would enjoy, let us know. Or if you want to be a guest, and you want to talk about books, we'll talk about it.
That's right.
Depends on who you are. Depends on if we like you or not.
Or if we remember to hit record the right way and not miss a week like we did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Not
I'm good with that though, man. I'm good. No, it's good. That was the way it was supposed to be. That was supposed to be
That's right.
just a Jenna Jeremiah conversation. That's what
right.
was
That's
happen.
That's right. Oh, man.
Well, I'm so glad that we were able to chat today, my friend. I'm so
Absolutely.
excited about school. I love talking to you about books.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And now I'm going to go scan a bunch of stuff for our adoption paperwork. And then after the scanning and after the home study, we're just waiting for a lady to point at us and say, that group. So
nice.
Send us all the good energies that our baby is here by Christmas.
Oh my gosh, that's exciting. Congratulations.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Best of luck on that one. And what are you reading for next week?
I'm going to finish Coraline.
Okay.
And somebody, I wish I could remember, somebody just made a blended learning guide, like completely free.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, I think it's like bit.ly/the hybrid teacher. I'll do all of these linky links later, or I won't, but I will make an effort to. And yeah, it's really good looking. I'll tweet it to you.
Okay. That sounds exciting.
All right, my friend, will you take care? Give
You
my love to the family.
You do the
Stay
same.
safe.
You do the same. We'll talk to you later.
We'll talk to you later.
Bye, Jenna.
Bye-bye.